right, Sandra, let's bring in Indiana Republican Senator Mike Braun. He sits on the Senate Agriculture Committee, and he was there this morning for the FTX hearing. Sam Bankman-Fried did not appear today. Senator, how much can you really learn about what happened at FTX with him at the Bahamas and y'all here in Washington, and neither one of you in the same room or at least listening to each other?
So I don't think we're going to learn a lot today, but you know it's serious business when every committee member shows up, many of whom have gotten some contributions from SBF. So this thing is going to unfold in an interesting way. Look back to the dot-com crisis back a couple decades ago. That's probably the closest thing we had to where all these companies have really no book net worth. They haven't made any money. All of the money they've got is raising it from capital, and you get into this speculative kind of a frenzy. So this, I think, was even a little more arcane because many don't even understand what cryptocurrency is about. If it wants to become a currency over time, it can't have volatility. That was one of the questions I asked. He wasn't really wanting to answer things that weren't directly related to regulation, but we've got a lot to learn, not only about the industry, the components of it. It is going to need some regulation if it's going to probably grow in an orderly way, and we need to make sure we don't over-regulate it because I think it's going to be around. It's had such grassroots underpinnings. A lot of that has to do with people worried about sovereign currencies in the long run.
You brought it up, so let me drill down on that. 9 members of the Agriculture Committee received money from Sam Bankman-Fried, who was a huge Democratic donor, but he also donated to some Republicans well. 6 of those 9 members have said that they're going to give those donations to charity. We have not heard, though, from Mitch McConnell, John Thune, and Joni Ernst. They receive funds, and they have not said what they're going to do. We should point out you didn't receive any money from FTX or Sam Bankman-Fried, but what should those Republican members of the committee do about those donations in your mind?
This would be one of the things where I would not hesitate on. I think you give it back. You never would have taken it had you known this was going to unfold. And I think that anybody that benefited from it, you know, it was a Ponzi scheme. A lot of these fledgling industries, though, that are fueled by capital only, not operations, and especially in something arcane like blockchain and cryptocurrencies, digital currencies, we got a long way to go. If you don't put some little regulation in it, don't kill the baby, don't kill the infant industry that's trying to grow, it's going to be a tricky dynamic.
Yeah. You know, as we pointed out, Sam Bankman-Fried is in his luxury home in the Bahamas. He did appear virtually in the New York Times Deal Book Summit yesterday, in which he said, quote, "I did not ever try to commit fraud on anyone." In an interview with George Stephanopoulos at Good Morning America, he did admit to not paying enough attention to the risk associated with what he was doing. This is what he said.
If I had been spending an hour a day thinking about risk management on FTX, I don't think that would have happened. I think I stopped working as hard for a bit. You know, honestly, if I look back on myself, I think I got a little cocky, maybe more than a little bit. And I think part of me, like, you know, felt like we'd made it.
Felt like we'd made it. I got cocky a little bit, maybe more than a little bit. What should he be saying to all those people who lost cumulatively billions of dollars besides, "I got cocky"?
Well, in a more mundane business where I was an entrepreneur, you always had to make a real book profit before you started getting into his kind of activities. He not only got a little cocky, he was never grounded to what really makes companies successful. Not only the hype of what might be, not only the fact that you could raise a lot of capital, you got to actually run it and build confidence a little bit at a time. Any of this stuff that seems too good to be true, it generally is. And again, I think we're here to stay on blockchain for all of its other benefits, digital currencies, because many of the sovereign currencies aren't running their fiscal house in order. And I think it helps a lot of people across the world. Off to a shaky start, though.
Let me also ask you, just while we've got about a minute left here, Senator, about the legislation that's coming over to the Senate from the House on the rail strike. First of all, where do you come down on the overall bill that would prohibit a rail strike, and where do you come down on the secondary bill that would provide for 7 days of paid sick leave?
This has got a lot of political overtones, too, since the administration ballyhooed how, don't worry about it, we're going to work this out. With all of the stuff they've put us through, inflating the economy, shutting down the supply chain, they are in a pickle. This is very political at this point, so a lot of these amendments don't make that much sense. The workers, I am concerned about. Big corporations, highly concentrated, need unions to be a counterweight. The benefits and that collective bargaining, I think they ought to do that themselves. Sadly, this has gotten into a cul-de-sac, onto the brink where it'd be more bad news on top of a shaky economy. I think that legislation will pass. They just got ahead of themselves, saying that they took care of it. Now we're going to have to deal with it.
Will you vote for it, the main bill and potentially the subsequent bill?
I may vote for all of the amendments in the bill itself and kind of, do it reluctantly, because I do believe if we have a rail strike at this point, it's going to put a lot of hurt and pain broadly across the economy. I blame it on the other side for getting us here to where we have this last-minute drama.
Okay, Senator Mike Braun of the great state of Indiana, thank you for your time, sir. Appreciate it. You being with us.
You bet.